TheSmartLocal.com.
Hi guys, welcome to an episode of Beyond Belief. I'm Farah.
Hi, I'm Ang Ziqian, the Managing Director of the Ang Chi Mall Group. So over at Ang Chi Mall Group, we actually serve many communities, Buddhists, Taoists, Christian, Catholics, freethinkers. We also provide funeral service parlors. We also assist families to do pre-planning services in advance.
So today we're going to ask a few questions regarding the Chinese funeral and its practices. So to start off, for me as a Malay Muslim, so in Islam we try to have like the deceased spirit in 24 hours after they pass. So what is the first thing that family usually do when their loved one passes?
Typically, when a loved one passes on, it is never easy for the family. So they will then have to call the family members to come by. The doctors by then has already informed the family the passing of the loved ones. And next, they will call us, Ang Chi Mall, as a funeral director, to come over to assist them.
Why is it different duration for different religion?
I wouldn't say that there's different duration for different religion. It is usually held in odd number of days because even number is considered as auspicious. So you held it in odd number. The longer the period allows more friends and relatives to come over to pay their own respect and condolences.
I see. So when we are preparing for a wake, right, are there any differences in the setup depending on the family's beliefs?
So for instance, if a Buddhist has passed on, the entire funeral setup is very much taking the Buddhist design. And if it's Taoist, it's Taoist. And if there is no religion, it's called freethinker.
Yeah.
And it actually go based on the preference of the person. So for instance, if a freethinker likes to play golf, we can actually design the entire wake to look like golf course or put in golf clubs and things like that to symbolize and honor the person. So the funeral is not necessary to be determined by a religion. It could be based on their own preferences. For some, they have expressed their wishes to their loved ones, and therefore their loved ones, upon the passing, his or her passing, actually carry out what the persons want.
I see.
Yeah. And this will mean that it is also a meaningful funeral as well.
So right now we have this segment of things that I've seen before. Just want to check with you whether is it a religious or is it a racial or cultural preference. So for this one, is more on a pattern fabric. Like usually we see them being pinned on different family members, and so what are the different significance of that?
It is more of a cultural thing.
Practice.
So the badges established to let people know that what's a relationship between the living and also the dearly departed. So if the deceased is a male, we actually wear the badges on the left arm, and if the deceased is a female, we actually wear it on the right arm. And different colors represents different relationships. So with the grandchildren, they have a specific color. If it's the children, it's a specific color. If it's in-laws, it's specific colors. Yeah. And also sometimes it also goes based on the dialects that the person has.
So why do some families burn paper for the deceased? Like the ones I see opposite my house is as huge as a house, kind of or some even a car. Why is that so?
So burning of houses is much more of a cultural thing. There are many beliefs and even explanation for that. Some believe or explain in this way. It's number one, if you burn all of this, the deceased person will actually have this in their next world. But there's also another kind of explanation where they say that when burning all of this is to actually remind the living that all these are impermanent. You can bring in houses, cars, maids, or even money to the next world. So there are many different kinds of saying. I would say that burning paper products is an expression. It's an expression of love, it's an expression of giving thanks. It can be done through joss papers. It can also be, for instance, giving of flowers at the columbarium. And we as funeral directors, we do not stop or forbid any expression of love.
At Chinese funerals, there are red strings on a table. What does that symbolize?
The red string is actually for good luck. Before you leave the wake, you take a red string and you tie around your finger. And before you reach home, the red string must be removed and disposed.
Oh, I see.
So it's a form of good luck.
So they are a cultural racial thing?
I would say it's more cultural. I would say that actually funeral, they have more cultural components than religious component. The religious component comes in when during the rituals, but the rest mostly is based on cultural. We have done a setup for a Chinese Buddhist funeral. I'm going to show you.
Oh, okay.
Come with me. So this is the Buddhist funeral setup. There are two parts to it. One is the Buddha segment and the other is the deceased segment. So usually for the Buddha segment, you will have water, you will have light, you have incense, and you also have flowers and also fruits as well. This is where you do offerings. And this area is where the deceased area is, whereby, so for instance, if I'm the guest, I'll come over, I'll take a joss sticks over here, I will lift up and I will pay my respect. And after which I'll place the joystick on here, and I will just bow to the family member, whether they are standing or here and here. If I wish to have a look of the deceased, this is where I will go one round. If I do not, viewing the deceased, and after paying the respects, I will go back to a sitting area for that.
See.
And over here, you will see that there are fruits offering.
Yeah.
There is also food, and for Buddhist funeral, it's typically all vegetarian.
Alright,
Right?
so,
It's an act of offering. It's an act of filial piety. It's an act of love when you do in terms of offering as well. And remember that you did ask me about the badges that people wear on left arm or right arm, and this is where the badges pouch is over here.
Oh.
And they will actually take based on the different colors to wear it.
For the incense over here, why are there like different sizes?
The smaller ones are the one for friends, relatives, guests who come over to pay their last respects. And this is where they put the joysticks over here. For this big joystick here, it's supposed to last throughout the entire wake duration. So when it comes down to left with 1 inch or 2 inch, you get another bigger joysticks. You light it and then you continue, because this joystick is supposed to be continued throughout the entire wake.
I see.
And this can be carried out by any family member. So after the attendance of a funeral wake, this is where you come to this area where you actually have the water with the flowers, and this is where you wash your hands. And this is to cleanse any form of bad luck that the person will actually have. And the guests will actually bring away this gift box. In it actually has the towel to clean off the water, and also with the red strings. Yes, so it's very symbolic.
I see. So is this a must, like a racial thing or religion thing?
This is a must-have. This is a cultural thing.
Cultural thing.
Yeah.
So what is the significance of the flowers?
The flowers, number one is for fragrance, and second is actually they believe that flowers with water is able to cleanse off any form of bad luck.
Is there any traditional reason for the shape and style of the coffins?
Coffin materials, the shapes, styles and colors has evolved for centuries. Today, the coffins are typically designed based on practicality, and sometimes because of culture, and sometimes because of religious reasons. So there isn't so much of this when it comes to Singapore. Family members will choose, okay, I think she likes white and therefore I choose white. And the association with white in all sorts. There are also family things that, oh, since I have this entire setup to be in white setting, I would think that this particular color would suit better.
So it really depends on preferences.
Preferences of the family members, or the preferences that was given as form of wishes by the deceased person when he or she is still alive. Okay, so one segment of funeral arrangements is to choose the different type of caskets. The one on the middle one is actually the larger one. It's meant for burial. The top and the bottom is actually for cremation. The difference between the top and the bottom here is that the top one has only a face panel until the chest level, whereby this can be opened up to the mid-level or the entire full body. The empty caskets ranges from the lighter ones from 45 kilos all the way to about 90 kilos.
Oh, well, that's heavy. I didn't expect it to be this heavy. The material are basically pretty much the same. They're made of like wood.
It depends. For cremation, material is usually the same. It's more easily combustible as compared to burial woods, which is less combustible. So this casket is a willow casket. It's made of 100% environment-friendly materials, and it's woven and put them together as one willow casket.
I see. So does this have anything to do with the signage we see over here, the Flying Home?
Not exactly, but Flying Home is an international repatriation company. For instance, if there's a Singaporean who unfortunately passed away in overseas, we are the one who bring them back home. And if there's a foreigner who unfortunately passed away in Singapore, we are the one who send them back to their homeland.
So next is mainly about colours. So I understand that for Chinese funeral, colours are very important. So why are certain colours, for example like red, pink, purple, are not allowed to be worn during the wake?
For funerals, it's more for mourning, and usually dark colours, white, black, blue, it's considered appropriate, and therefore you don't have bright colours in them. But in recent years, there are very few families who also opt for a different kind of funeral where they wear bright colours, but these are very small numbers. Ultimately, the funeral is not only for the dearly departed, but also for the living as well. And if the living felt that that symbolizes or can help them in their grief journey, we will respect what they have offered.
Every time we pass a Chinese funeral, there's a lot of like signages and colourful wreath. What was the whole purpose of that?
Okay, so when people offer condolences, they are in many forms. One is through cash, and they give as part of condolences money. Second is to put up banners. In those days, you have this blanket. Today, you have more of the box wreath or standing wreaths. These are marked a form of condolences that to offer to the family. So it can come in many different forms.
So when you mentioned just now about blanket, so what is it for and like?
The blanket is a form of condolences gift where the blanket will comprises of from who, and to who is usually the family, and you put a condolences message. And it can be given by, example, business partners, can be relatives, can be friends, can be associations, and anyone who means a lot to the deceased person.
So how is the final send-off carried out? So is it like cremation or burial?
I think what is important is for the funeral director to have a conversation with the family. And this is where we will be able to find out as funeral director what's the preference of the family, what are the wishes of the deceased person, and we're carrying according to it. So these are conversations. It is important for a funeral because there are no two funerals exactly the same. The family members' wishes is different, the circumstances, the dynamics are very different, and also the wishes of the deceased person must be respected as well.
Okay, so Mr. Ang, I see there's a different variety of, I believe it's urn. So can you just share a little more about the things over here?
Okay, so this is a urn where we use it for repatriation. So example, if a foreigner who unfortunately passed away in here, after cremation, we'll place the cremated remains in here, and then we'll seal it, and then this will be transported to their homeland. And the reason why we use this material so that this is able to actually go past for x-rays by the immigrations and customs.
So this will go in under the cargo load?
It can be done in two ways. One is through the cargo, and the other will be through by hand carry by the family members. So if it's hand carried by family members, we'll prepare all the necessary documents, including the translations that needs to be attached together with it.
So they were specifically used for this?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So for families who have opted for inland ash scattering at either the Garden of Serenity or Garden of Peace, the cremated remains will be placed into the ash scattering tube. This ash scattering tube will be brought over to the gardens where they will scatter the pulverized cremated remains into the scattering lanes.
Like there is like a specific rule for each and every urn. So I believe these two will have their own story behind or the purpose?
Yes, that's correct. So this is the biodegradable seashell urn, whereby family members who have chose sea scattering, they will place the cremated remains through this opening where inside there's a biodegradable bag. Once everything is done, it will seal it. We'll carry this seashell urn to the sea, and this is when you reach the designated location, we will lower it down, and this is where the family members come together to say their farewells, give their wishes, and have a closure and have a ceremony before it slowly sinks down to the bed of the sea. And over the next 72 hours, it slowly biodisintegrate.
So what material is it made of?
It's made of paper that is able to disintegrate when it comes in contact with water.
So same goes for this, I believe?
Same goes for this one,
The size difference for these two, but they are meant for adults.
They are meant for adults. For families who like sea turtles, they will actually choose this. For families who doesn't have preference on over sea turtles, they usually choose the seashell.
I see.
This is like for a memento keepsake. So family members who choose to have their urns to be placed at home can use the traditional urns, or you can put it into a keepsake like mementos like this. And this is where you could put the pulverized cremated remains in here, and you just place it as an ornament at home.
So this thing will be filled with ashes, or it's just like partially?
It will be filled with ashes. Depends on how much the family actually wants it to place inside.
I see.
There are family members who are based all over the world, and some of them can be just separate the cremated remains, and then one of them can bring it to country A, country B, country C.
Moving on, see there's the one you mentioned that's like turning into diamond memorials.
In order to do this Algodanza memorial diamonds, first of all, we have to collect the cremated remains and we ship it to Switzerland. This is where our laboratory is there to transform from the human cremated remains into memorial diamonds. So it's using a technology called HPHT, high pressure, high temperature. And the longer the duration it is, the bigger the diamond it becomes. Some family members prefer to actually have it in this box and they place it in their home, in a place where they will honor their loved ones. The reason why we actually brought this service in is that we know that a lot of Singaporeans are based overseas, and sometimes for them to come back for their annual Qingming duties, it may be very challenging, and therefore having this memorial diamond will allow them to honor their loved ones on the occasions, and in times where they actually need a pillar of support, they know that their loved ones who has passed on is supporting them.
So if someone passes away and they do not have the next of kin, so there's no family to arrange the funeral, so who's going to take over that?
Typically for these situations, for destitutes, the medical social worker will reach out to us and we will evaluate the case. If there is no family members, we will take on this case as a pro bono. We will perform according to what is the last known religion or wishes of the person. And this information are usually provided by the medical social workers.
So would the wake still follow the entire process that was being mentioned before, or like will you guys keep any parts of it?
Typically for such a situation, it is usually for a direct cremation for religions that permits cremation, and we will do the direct cremation. The cremated remains will then be left at the government facility, which is at the crematorium. The crematorium allows the cremated remains to be left there for a period of time, because sometimes when a person passes on, relatives maybe could be found maybe many months later or many years later, and this is where it allows the family members who knew of the death of that destitute to come over to claim the cremated remains. Destitutes typically are broken up into two different groups. One is they are destitute by circumstances, and one, they choose to be destitute, and therefore no one will even know even their passing. And therefore we as funeral directors at Ang Chee Mo, we take on these cases as pro bono because we believe that every single person in this world, especially in Singapore, deserve a final journey, no matter what's the wealth level or even the social status. So we believe that everyone deserves one, and that's why we've been doing this since my great-grandfather time.
I see. Alright, so for another question is, what if someone passes away in a foreign country?
Maybe for example, if there's a foreigner who unfortunately passed away in Singapore, we at Flying Home, we will first be notified. After which, we will transfer the deceased to our care. And the next step is we have to perform embalming, and then we have to get all the documents to go to different authorities, including embassies, to get an approval. Once all of this are done already, then we will actually proceed to book the freight from Singapore back to different cities. So that's what we do. For repatriation, it's a specialized operations. Not all funeral companies are able to do. You need a team of experienced repatriation specialists to do this.
So how about if a Singaporean with a family in Singapore but the deceased in a foreign country, would it be the same process on getting them back?
It will be still the same entire process. Different countries, different cities has different administration or even documents requirement. So it is important that the family engage a reputable and trusted and experienced repatriation specialist to walk them through the entire process. Because a funeral is not only for the dead, but it's also for the living as well. So it's for the dead too, for the dearly departed to move on to the next world. And it's also for the living who has been left behind, a form through this funeral ceremony, a form of grieving and also healing as well. So as a funeral director, I like to see harmony. And that's what I want to see. I like to see that the family continue to be harmonious, continue to be strong, supporting each other even after the death of a loved one has happened.
Thank you for watching this episode of Beyond Belief. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Ring the notification bell down below and don't forget to watch our video over there. Bye!